I think it's going to come through. I need to do the 10, 9, 8. Okay. So it seems to be coming through now. Okay. Okay, come on. Show up. Hello. It's thinking about it. It's thought about it, and now it's doing it. Okay. So, Osama,
Yeah.
Juini. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, so, for students that don't know who I am, my name is Paul Wright. And we're here to do something called OC. Whatever OC means, it can have many reasons why OC is an acronym. Okay, so I thought we'd hear from a previous student who has followed the OC semester in S3. Um, so I have some information about this incredible character. Um, so tell us, Osama, tell us about where you are at the moment in terms of your career, because you have been at Epita. So where are you now? What are you doing?
Sure. Well, now I work full time as a web developer and game developer in a company called Madbox.
Okay.
And I used to work there as a student uh, during the Apprentice program. And I quit Epita to work there full time.
Okay. So you just said you quit Epita,
Yeah.
to work at this company full time where you
Yeah.
were an apprentice. So maybe there's four things I'd like to, or five things I'd like to look at with you, like your experience on the OC S3 semester. You know, do you remember? Because I think it was 2018.
It was a long while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't even know if you did your semester abroad.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
Okay, so maybe you could give some tips on what to look out for. How do you decide on your destination? You know, so we'll hold that. And then Patreon. If people don't know Patreon, could you describe Patreon in a sentence?
It's a website where people ask for support from people that like their work, so they can keep doing it.
Okay. And I am a donator to that. Three big dollars a month, $3 happy a month. So we're going to talk about OC semester, your semester abroad, Patreon, and your move from the engineering cycle into apprentice.
Yeah,
You know, and how that led you to leaving your apprenticeship early, terminating your apprenticeship early to take up a full-time post as a web app developer, I think, in a
yeah.
games company. So if you could think back a little bit, rewind, the OC semester, the S3, how was it globally and what were your
The
expectations?
Specifically the OC or the S3 in general.
Maybe in general, because I think this is a good eye opener for people.
Well, the S3 I can only remember it as being me waiting for S4 for the abroad semester. I think it's the case for a lot of students. They just work during the day, but they know they'll be going to another country, so that's what they're most likely to wait for. But it was good. We had some interesting projects. We had a very hard programming project that I didn't like very much.
Do you think the
Uh,
students are kind of go? Will the students be doing that immediately in S3?
yeah, yeah. It's a it's a character recognition program in C, and I think they've been doing that for a few years. I think they're still doing it.
Mm.
Maybe not. But I remember it was very tedious, and I didn't like it.
But when you say tedious, is it because it was very global and not very specific to a subject? It's like basic programming.
No, I mean it was tedious in the sense that we shouldn't be using the languages they asked us to use to make that program because it's not industry standard, and it's not a good learning experience. We could learn a lot more by doing it the right way, and it wasn't really that interesting.
However, as a teacher, I have to turn upside down what you just said and say maybe it's good that you look at uh, other languages, then it makes you appreciate the
Yeah,
standards
sure.
in
Uh,
the industry.
yeah, sure. I know a lot of people really liked doing that project, and most people I talked to like doing it. I just had a less good experience myself.
Okay, yeah, everybody's forming their opinion about how uh, their own educational experience.
Yeah.
Totally. So with that, OC, I've looked back through some of the tweets, you know, that we've shared, and during the lockdown, we exchanged a few tweets, and I said, I'm trying my best to give the students a good experience through the screen," and you replied, "I don't doubt that you're doing your best to provide interesting lessons. I had your I had you last year in OC." So I'm like, obviously, you found it a valuable way to spend time. I mean,
Yeah,
what do you remember?
I found the OC course very different from the rest of the classes we had. Uh, I mainly remember the lessons trying to be really interesting and really insightful on some subjects we should be taught about, and so I like this.
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, I don't remember all the subjects we had, but I mainly remember this, and I thought it was pretty good because most other lessons we had wasn't that didn't have that feel, that mood, if you know what I mean.
You say a mood. It's very different, isn't it? It's more um, topics that you come into contact with
Yeah.
daily as a web surfer, a gamer, somebody just interested in innovation and technology. Mm. 'Cause I think that's the purpose of OC, to look at innovation and technology, and maybe to look at the idea of how that works in your semester abroad. It's a bit weird, but in the semester abroad, you have to do research because you're going to be at another university. So how does Wikipedia as a tool maybe serve you in another country? And you're all learning English as well. So where have you picked up your English? Because one of the topics I'm probably going to do is e-gaming. E-gaming. Do you
Uh,
think
uh,
gaming had a massive impact on people's level of English?
yeah, gaming and watching YouTube videos, watching movies. I've mainly learned English by watching YouTube and playing games. So yeah,
Mm. Do you think were you prepared for your semester abroad
in
in
terms
terms
of
psychologically and for the switch from the French culture to another academic culture? And where did you go?
I went to Ireland, so it wasn't that different, just north.
Yeah, yeah, just grey skies. Well, greyer skies. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was prepared. Well, we weren't prepared for some housing issues we had when we arrived. But overall, we were pretty eager to go there, and it was a good time.
Okay, so you said housing issues. Which three barriers were difficult to overcome? Which three things were difficult to overcome, to solve?
Well, for the housing, we didn't want to go with the housing that EPI provided because we wanted to do our own thing. So we started looking into apartments and houses, and we found one, and we agreed with the housekeeper to let us rent it for 6 months, I think.
Okay.
But 3 weeks before we went there, she dropped the agreement, and we arrived there with no house, so we had to scramble and look for one for the first 2 weeks. So we had to live in an Airbnb for a week, and then we lived in a house from a partner with the school we were to that housed us for a week, and then we found something, and it was great.
Okay, so community was the big thing there, to stick together, to find
Yeah,
a way to spend time together, living in the same place.
yeah. The people in we were in Cork, not in Dublin, but the people there are very nice, very human.
Hmm.
It means yeah, if it makes sense.
Very human,
Yeah,
warm,
yeah,
chaleureux, warm.
yeah.
Mm.
It changes a lot from Paris.
Okay, so that was a good element of culture shock. We can talk about culture shock. Was it difficult to accept kind, warm, and
No, not at all.
yeah,
No, no, no. It
very
was very
suspicious? Like,
cool.
why are they being kind? Yeah.
No, I was just happy that people were being kind, and it went really well.
So socially, it was a good experience too.
Yeah,
How would you say, is it more academic or more social, the experience?
way more social. I ended up even making friends from people not even from our university, from another university in Cork, because there were social events where we'd go and play games, and we'd do that almost every week or every 2 week. And I'm still in contact with them 2 years later, and it was very good. It was a very good experience.
So if I summarize that, it's you have a network of people now that you made during your semester abroad.
Yeah.
So that network is like something to look out for, to start building on your semester abroad.
Well, if people want to, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it just happens naturally sometimes that you
Yeah.
meet people and you stay in contact more quickly than before. Um, so we follow each other on Twitter, and I said I pledge $3 to your Patreon. Um, and the reason why I do that is because I we exchanged on Facebook, and I saw you had a Patreon. I went to look at it, and I think, what is it you say about it? Yeah, you said, um, if someone supports me, uh, that will be in the back of your mind all the time. You know, if somebody's supporting you, and I thought, you were making free, um, you were developing free things through coding. So what are you developing on Patreon?
Basically, I make a lot of game using a game engine called Construct. It's a JavaScript-based engine, and I know it pretty well. So I make add-ons for the engine, and I make tutorials about how to use it. And I make that when I have some time and I'm free, and I work on this project because I work with the engine for my job and for my own projects anyway. So most
Okay.
of the time I need to make those anyway, and so I just share them. And for a long time, people asked me to make a Patreon so they could support me. So I just said, yeah, sure, okay.
People were coming to you to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
we'd like, they already saw the value in what you were doing. So which people were coming to you to encourage you to launch a Patreon account?
People from the Construct community that I helped a few times. And because some after a few times they asked if they could pay me or support me in any way, and I didn't have any means for them to do so. So they just said make a Patreon and I'll give you money there. And I said okay. After a few times, I just said why not, and I made one.
Okay. And I think that's what encouraged me to give, because you do tutorials, you do add-ons, you do games, but you were saying this platform is to help people develop their knowledge. So you're not asking for a payment for anything that people download. Well, people support you for $3 at least. Okay, so just to give a profile of who you are, so you're the founder of Dedra, Dedra,
Yeah,
Games Dedra recently. You're a developer at Madbox Games, and you're the CTO, Chief,
technical officer. Yeah,
yeah, which is probably a difficult role at Place Some, yeah.
yeah.
So okay, and your handle on Twitter is currently Skyman75, and you were formerly known as Skylone. Yeah. Why did you change the name?
It's more of a joke because it's not a Skylone, it's a Sky Clown, because someone on the construct community insulted me one day for no reason, and he said the Skyman more like Sky Clown, and just I just changed my name for this, and I had the name for maybe a few months, and then I switched back to my original name, and I kept it in my title.
Okay, yeah. So in fact, I read it wrong. It was formerly Sky Clown.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So you're happy to just to roll with it and respond to the way people respond to you. Um, Let me just pick up on games, Dedra. You are doing that in collaboration with Adam.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce Adam's second name? Merai.
Mirai.
Merai.
Mirai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are the game's designer and programmer, and Adam Merai is the
Yeah.
scenarist and level designer.
Yeah.
So how did you get together?
We've known each other since the high school. We met there and we started working together there, and we just stuck together since. We came to Epita together. We worked in the same company during the apprenticeship, and now we work together at Madbox and on Dedra.
Okay. So was it coincidence that you ended up at Epita?
Mm, Not really. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew that we wanted to do an engineering school. But the coincidence part is that he was late a year because he redid a year in high school, and so I was a year ahead, and I didn't come to Epita right away. I went to another school called ISEP, and it wasn't that great, and I ended up quitting ISEP to go to Epita. So I had to retake my year at Epita, and we arrived at Epita at the same time. So we caught up at that point.
So you ended up parallel in
Yeah.
the same academic year. So you did the prepper, and then you decided to move directly into the apprenticeship after your semester abroad.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the reason for doing the apprenticeship and not the engineering cycle?
Well, there were many reasons. The first reason is that I knew I wanted to work at a company and work on real projects because I get bored really easily in class. And also, I had a few friends that were in the engineering cycle, and I knew I wouldn't survive the 3 years at Epita if I had taken the engineering cycle, because there are a lot of very complex things that ask a lot of effort in to memorize them and to go to class. And I have my own projects on the side, and so I had to prioritize. So the call was either I take 3 years and I take the engineering class, and at the end I can get a job and do whatever, or I start working right now, make money, and I can keep working on my projects, or I can keep working on stuff I want to work on, and still be at Epita.
Mm.
And
So,
so the choice was obvious for me.
and the apprenticeship, is it competitive to get into? What's the process?
It
You
used
know,
to be
just in case students are here now listening, they're thinking, which channel, which route will I take? You know.
well, it used to be competitive a few years ago, but when I arrived, I think it changed, and since they've changed a few things, so it should be a lot easier to get into, but you need to go see the administration yourself and ask about it, because Epita doesn't talk that much about it. So most people don't know it even exists. So people need to go and check up on it. It's
Of
not that
course,
hard. That they just give you a simple oral test and ask you what you want to do, and that's it.
mhm, just you have to show your motivation.
Yeah.
And is it more practical that they're expecting you to be more practical and
Mm,
able to fit into a company? Because what's the definition of being an apprentice?
Well, you just work part-time at a company. You choose the company, or Epita can help you find it. But overall, we assume that people don't have experience with whatever they're working on, either with the languages they're going to use, or with just professional stuff in general. So they don't have a barrier for that. Even companies just don't assume you're going to be a top tier engineer from day one. So it shouldn't be that hard to find a company if you're looking for it, and you're not you don't start searching at like 1 month before the start.
Yeah. Like the advice, that's your advice. Do not start searching 1 month before. Start well in advance.
Yeah, because I had some contacts, and I knew where I could have my apprenticeship. And I had a friend while I was in Ireland. I had a friend that worked at Madbox, and he talked to me about Madbox and how the company was. And so when I came back from Ireland, I applied, and everything worked well, and I had my job.
Mm.
But Adam didn't get that chance, so he had to work at another company, and it took like 4 months to find it. So he started. He got his job in December. So the almost the whole first semester he didn't have any job, and that job didn't work so well. It wasn't that great, and the boss was pretty terrible. So he had to switch, and I managed to get him in Madbox that way.
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned Ireland, Cork,
Yeah.
and that's where you started thinking and getting contacts for Madbox, where you are now. So is that some advice you could give, like during this semester abroad, really use it as a moment to reflect on where you want to go next?
Even right now, even before just start thinking about the future, because yeah, the more time you give yourself, the more breathing room you'll have, and the more you'll be able to react to stuff happening.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
if you do everything at the last moment, you won't really have
Mm.
any time to adapt.
So the advice is do the academic studies, also keep reflecting on what you're doing next,
Yeah,
and um, try and be active during this period where you're waiting for a semester abroad. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And if I just skip onto the English language skills that you have, you're pretty fluent. I think you would say that now.
Yeah.
Have you always been really at ease using English, or when did that moment start where you felt easy and it was more instinctive rather than a
Mm,
challenge?
I started being all right in English at the end of high school, I think, because mainly in written English, not that much spoken, because I don't speak in English that often. But I have a very good written English knowledge. And recently, since about last year, I've had to speak in English a few times, so it forced me to train that skill. And I'm still not as good as I'd want to be, not as good as in written form, but I'm improving, and I think I'm gonna get a good level at some point.
Well, I just want to confirm that your level for me is like still a high, competent
Thank you.
professional, and fluid use of English. And I have a note here: your TOEIC level. Your TOEIC level is quite at the extreme end of the high, isn't it? It's like 925.
We were in the English class, so most people had similar notes and had
Mm,
very high TOEIC levels.
mm. Does TOEIC reflect your use of language now? Your use of English now? Is TOEIC related to producing the language in the work environment, or how does it relate?
Uh, Not really. I don't know. TOEIC checks if you can speak well in English, but most of the vocabulary I use or the context I use English for, I had to learn new stuff, new ways of speaking, and
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just a very general TOEIC.
Yeah. And so students who are doing TOEIC, you need that to get your diploma.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the basic. Speaking about diplomas, in our exchange on Twitter, you dropped the bomb. Poof. Oh, in April, I quit Epita.
yeah.
You quit your apprenticeship. How long? Which year were you? Were you in the second year or the third year?
Second year.
So you were due to fit take your third year.
Yeah.
Okay, you quit. How easy was that decision?
Pretty easy. Well, I didn't want to quit for a while because Adam was still at Epita. I didn't want to leave him on his own because we work on the same project, so
Oh, you
it doesn't make
motivate each other.
sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense for me to quit on my own.
So you encourage Adam to quit too? No.
I didn't really encourage him because he didn't have that good of how do you say a bulletin in
Results
yeah
score. Yeah.
that good of results in the second semester of the second year, so he almost was fired from Epita. So he had either he was gonna quit or he was gonna start focusing a lot more on Epita. So that's when he decided to quit as well. And
Okay.
as soon as he made that decision, it was easy for me. I just wanted to go on.
Mm.
And I've been thinking about it for a while because I didn't learn that much during the apprenticeship. Well, I learned a lot working at Madbox, but at Epita I didn't learn a ton, mainly because of COVID and because of a lot of things. But
Yeah.
I just assumed that I wouldn't need my diploma anyway because I knew I had a job because I had talked about that to my bosses a few times.
Mm.
Told them if I were to ever quit Epita, would you take me? And they said, yeah, sure. And so I asked a few times, and when I was sure I didn't risk myself, I just quit Epita and I let the administration know.
Yeah. It's a risk. However, it was informed and you verified that you were valuable for that company.
Yeah, because I was pretty sure that once I had my first few years of experience, I was safe and I didn't really need my diploma because in the development world, once you have uh, a resume that's good enough and projects you've worked on that are good enough, you don't really need the diploma for most companies, not the bigger ones. But it was more than enough for what I wanted to do. And since I want to work on my own projects anyway, it was I didn't really need my diploma, so I just quit.
So a diploma is always good because it shows you
Yeah,
are at the same level as other people, your peers.
yeah,
However, you're demonstrating that you are at a level independent of the diploma, but you can always go back and do a diploma another time.
yeah, sure.
Mm.
Yeah, sure. If
Mm.
I think I need to redo some parts of a semester or a year to learn about something, yeah, sure.
Mm. But right now you see the on the job, actually working is where your skills are
Yeah,
most valuable. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Mm. Okay. And I see your studio. This is curious. You have your studio. What do you do here in that space?
Uh, I work when I'm at home when I work from home, and that's about it.
Yeah, because you have the camera set up and the light box.
Yeah, I used to make some. I used to try and make some videos because I wanted to try and dabble into video tutorials or just videos about game design in general.
Yeah.
So I had uh, this material. I had the light box and I bought it in Ireland. Bought it from Amazon Ireland and I had to take it back with me in the airport. And
Ah,
I've
so so
used it like
so during the semester abroad, you thought you had some time to develop
yeah, I
some
tried a few
ideas.
things. Yeah, and I tried a few of them. I had one video up, and the reason I stopped was because I had a very bad microphone,
Mm.
and so I had to try a bunch few. This is the microphone I bought when I went to Korea,
Yes.
because while I was in Ireland, I took a trip to Korea and came back, and I bought this.
Yeah.
turned out to be not that great either. So I
So
stopped using it.
so let me just pause. You're in Ireland and you decided to go to South
Yeah,
Korea
yeah,
to see some other students because I think that's one of the destinations.
yeah, yeah. Because basically, I wanted to go to Korea as my first destination, but I wasn't accepted. And at the time, I started working at Playsom during my S3, and so I had some money, and I had saved up enough money to make the trip. And I went to Korea and came back and had a 10-day holiday with a friend we had in Korea and Adam that was in China. That it was a lot easier for him to go to Korea. So we met up there, spent 10 days together, and I came back to Cork.
Okay. And Adam was in China for a semester abroad.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Which city? Oh, is it
He was in Beijing. He
Beijing?
was at Beijing Institute of Technology.
Okay. So that is a destination.
Yeah,
It's
as
probably
far
a
as I know.
destination because
Yeah,
the destinations are changing constantly, and I'm not quite up to date. And especially with COVID, I think destinations are going to be
yeah.
moving quite a lot at the moment where people are allowed to go. Um, so South Korea was your first destination, and Cork second. Did you have a third?
China, yeah,
Okay, so it's you have to choose three.
yeah.
Okay, and what's it based on? How you are allocated your semester
Mm,
abroad? Is there a point system?
well, I wanted to go to South Korea because I just wanted to go there. For Ireland, I had some friends that went there, so I just figured, yeah, why not?
Mm.
And China, it was the closest thing to South Korea there was in the list, so I just added it as the third point because I wanted to go in Asia, but I also didn't want to spend my whole semester alone, so
Okay,
that's how I ranked my choices.
yeah, it can be a lonely experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so who decides on if you get first, second, or third choice?
I don't know.
Is it random, or is there
uh,
an order where you have to prove that you're academically okay?
I think that you're supposed to prove that academically you'll be able to do it. But I don't really know how they choose and how they assign. It's pretty opaque the system.
It's pretty opaque. Okay. So what advice would you give people on selecting a semester abroad? Look for the university in terms of its reputation, or the country that you want to try and explore.
Mm, the country that you want to try and explore, and the languages that you're most likely going to understand or learn when you're there. Because academically, you're most likely not going to face any very strong challenges, especially coming from EPITA, because EPITA has one of the biggest levels in the world. So most of the time, they need to put the EPITA students at a year above, so they
Oh,
can catch up in terms of level. So either you're going to keep the same level as EPITA or lower for most of the destination. Not all of them, but most of them, it's the case. For example, in Ireland, we had a lower level than EPITA S3, so it was very easy academically. In China, it was about similar, and in Korea, it's a bit harder, I think, but that's from what I heard. But overall, it's only you need to choose only based on the country you want to explore because most likely academically you're not going to keep that much out of it, but the experience is what's important.
you said academically you're not going to get so much out of it,
Yeah,
but the experience is key.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and you said the level is different. Like EPITA students were at a high level in which subject?
Mostly in programming and algorithmy,
Okay,
and a bit in math as well, but that depends on the country.
okay.
Some
So
countries have a much higher math level, and some have a lower.
okay. So were you able to measure that before you decided? Did you know that was going to be the case?
I knew barely from other students from other years, but it's rumors that spread around, and people learn about it naturally.
Okay. So is it good to try and speak to previous students then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And you did that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's nickel, as you say in French. So Skyman75, Osama Jouini, thank you for your kind. Yeah, you're very kind to just spend some time just answering those questions. Any final words you want to give to these the OC semester
Mm,
generally?
I don't know. Try finding some stuff you like doing and do it. I don't know. Just don't wait for stuff to happen, and don't wait for your diploma. Try taking action and try finding stuff you enjoy doing it, and get good at it, I guess. It's
Okay.
very broad knowledge, but
Yeah. Okay. Osama, thanks again, and I'm glad we connected on Twitter. I'm just gonna stop the stream here. Okay. Cheers.
cheers.